Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Canadian government has recognized the historical significance of the Alexander Henry Museum ship.
The former icebreaker is being designated as a National Historic Site for the vessel's 26 years of service to the Canadian Coast Guard. Joe Sadowski has been following the story and joins us now live in studio. Joe?
Thanks, Riley. The Henry is the Transportation Museum of Thunder Bay's premier attraction. The ship was built at the Port Arthur shipyards and was brought home from Kingston 6 years ago to be proudly displayed and preserved on the local waterfront. The Alexander Henry is an integral part of Thunder Bay's history. The vessel was built at the local shipyard and was launched to great fanfare in 1958. The Henry served mainly as an icebreaker for the Great Lakes, creating a safe pathway for larger freighters to travel to the local port, making the region an essential part of Canada's trading routes. Rob Kilgour with the Transportation Museum of Thunder Bay says the Henry played an important role in the city's growth and deserves this recognition.
What this does in terms of profile for the ship we have and what we have here as an attraction for tourism, but really all about linking people to their history, it's incredible. And the knowing that we have an artifact like the Alexander Henry, which was vital to the well-being, the growth, and the prosperity of Thunder Bay, it really does an amazing thing for us.
With the Alexander Henry adding the title of a nationally declared historic site to its already impressive resume, the chair of the Transportation Museum, Wally Peterson, says there will be more room for funding and improved tourism potential for the boat.
Being designated gives us a little more recognition that we can use readily for promotional ideas, and it also allows us new funding streams to try and keep protecting and preserving the ship.
The Henry was brought back to Thunder Bay in 2017, and since then, it's seen thousands of visitors from around the world, and Kilgour says it's no surprise that the Henry is one of the top tourist attractions around the city.
When you have something like this, they will come in abundance. So we're not afraid that we won't have enough people. I think this year, I wouldn't doubt that we're pressing 10,000 or more people, and that is the first year out of COVID. And that is with, again, limited resources in terms of promotion and publication. So we're really hoping to use this to profile the ship, to move forward with what we've got as a museum, and really set a new course that'll be positive.
Former Transportation Museum President Charlie Brown says he was the person who nominated the Alexander Henry for the designation and says he's tremendously pleased with the outcome. A historic plaque is expected to be set up at Pool 6 next year, and the current museum board has plans to make the Henry a fully funded and sustainable year-round attraction for tourists and local residents. Joe Sadowski, TBT News.
Despite some minor setbacks, a major project that will revitalize Thunder Bay's downtown North Core is moving along on schedule.
The reconstruction of Court Street is expected to conclude in the coming weeks, allowing crews to shift their attention to Red River Road next year. Basilios Bellows reports.
The first portion of a construction project that'll reimagine Thunder Bay's North Core is nearing completion.
We're hoping for good weather, as you see, and another couple, 2 to 3 weeks of this, and we'll have it wrapped up.
The revitalization of the North Core isn't planned to conclude until next year, though the work on Court Street is expected to wrap up by early November. Infrastructure on Court has been completed, with surface work currently happening at the Red River Road intersection. There were some interesting findings during the work, including lines from the old rail cars. Project engineer Brian Newman says the work modernizes the road while providing a better experience for the public.
A lot of infrastructure is 100+ years old, so it was time to get that work done, and the finished product, as you see, is it's new to Thunder Bay, but I think people will enjoy it when they do come down and visit the downtown core.
Completing the work on Court Street this year means crews can then turn attention to Red River Road next construction season, and while businesses will stay open throughout, Newman recognizes the construction is still a disruption.
I think the biggest thing is just as long as people just realize that these businesses have stayed open through all this, and we've kept them open as best we possibly can. I have very little negative feedback, if anything. So hopefully people still come down here and help the business out at this time of year.
Once the work is completed, the North Core is expected to be more walkable, better suited to host events, while providing greener spaces. The most recent price tag for the project was pegged at $13 million, though the city's already received more than $2 million from the provincial and federal governments. Vasilios Bellows, TVT News.
The safety of those at local pride events was a topic of discussion at this week's Thunder Bay Police Board meeting.
President of the Rainbow Collective, Jason Veltri, says he received death threats earlier this year. He wants the police board to know about the security concerns facing the queer, trans, and non-binary communities. Josh Morano reports.
I am not going to be quiet just for the sake of someone else's pleasure. At the end of the day, we have a job to do, and that means the safety and security of trans, non-binary, gender diverse, and queer individuals in this community.
Leading up to the local Pride March held in June, Jason Veltri says he received death threats. It prompted him to ask city police to attend the event, and he also considered quitting as president of the Rainbow Collective. The situation heightened his concerns about the safety and protection of 2S LGBTQ+ members at local events. So this week, Veltri and Thunder Pride president Scotia Cowpea made a presentation at the monthly police board meeting asking for their support.
We had, a very concentrated effort to intimidate community members who were displaying pride flags or the Pride Lives Here signs with propaganda in their mailboxes. So, we wanted to ensure that not only the Police Services Board knew what was happening, but we wanted our community to also know that, we are dealing with a very global, concentrated campaign against 2S LGBTQIA communities.
Veltri admits there's been a lack of trust between pride groups and city police. He reported the death threats to police in June, but didn't go public with them until the Love Always Wins event at City Hall in September. He thinks many other marginalized groups do the same because they feel a lack of support from police. However, Veltri says new police chief Darcy Fleury has made strides to help the community feel protected, and now it's up to the 2S LGBTQ+ community to work with them as well.
It really comes down to the communication, and he mentioned it today that some people are afraid to come to the police. We need to find out, if our response is adequate, what we can do better, and make sure that those people do come forward.
So we know that we have to do more with police with respect to rebuilding trust, working with them. They have to work with us. And, I think there are, the seeds of that happening now with the new chief. There is a commitment from his office to listen to us and meet with us.
Fleury and Veltri have plans to meet on Friday, and Fleury says it's important to continue those open talks of what kind of threats they're facing and how the police can help. Josh Morano, TBT News.
At Queen's Park, the Ford government wants to censure a new Democrat MPP who criticized Israel in the wake of the Hamas attack.
And there's also a motion to condemn Hamas. Siobhan Morris has the story.
In a debate she wasn't present for, government MPPs argued Sarah Jama's support of a Palestinian resistance, an anti-Semitic post on social media,
has placed this House and its members in such disrepute that as a parliament, we have no choice but to act to defend the dignity of the institution on behalf of our constituents.
The government has moved to shut down Jama's ability to speak in the legislature unless she takes her post down and apologizes in the House. Calandra says her words would have been hurtful at any time.
But to make them in association with a violent act of unrepentant and unprovoked terrorism is repugnant.
Jama apologized online but left her initial post up, and she's now pinned it to the top of her account, increasing its visibility.
There are times when moral relativism, when situational ethics are not appropriate. This is that time.
Jama's seatmate acknowledges the post was damaging and didn't initially condemn Hamas, but says the government is exploiting tragedy.
Will silencing a member who has family in Palestine and who has apologized for a social media post that she realized caused harm, will this contribute to de-escalating the tensions that are growing in Ontario?
The NDP argues no.
Debate on this attempt to censure Sarah Jama and to condemn Hamas are expected to stretch into next week. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The union representing Ontario's public English elementary school teachers has announced that its members have voted 95% in favor of a strike mandate as negotiations continue. ETFO members have been working for more than a year without a contract and say their patience has run out. They're calling for more support for students with special needs, improved staffing levels, fair compensation, and violence prevention measures in schools. Education Minister Stephen Lecce, though, insists the union has rejected every opportunity to get a deal.
It's clear that 100% of families in this province want and insist that their children are in school. We firmly agree as a government. We just concluded a framework and agreement with OSSTF, that's the public high school teacher. We signed a deal that protects the in-person learning experience, ensures these children are in school. And, it begs the question fundamentally, if we can get an agreement with one of the largest unions for English public high school teachers, then why can't we get that agreement with English public elementary school teachers?
The strike mandate doesn't guarantee that elementary teachers will head to the picket lines, but the union now has that option if negotiations stall.
With hospitals under unprecedented strain with too many patients and not enough doctors or nurses, the province is trying a new way to reduce the number of preventable visits. The Ministry of Long-Term Care has launched an equipment and training fund. It's intended to help long-term care homes buy and use more diagnostic equipment so residents can get more care on site. The program will prioritize conditions that often lead to preventable hospital visits, like UTIs, falls, and pneumonia. The province says it's also increasing reimbursements for mobile lab blood services.
Thunder Bay nurses welcomed a special guest this afternoon. The president of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, Claudette Holloway, spoke about the importance of nurses in the province and the challenges they face every day. Holloway met with members of the RNAO's Lakehead chapter and also toured the regional hospital. The discussions focused on attracting nurses to the north and lobbying the province for better working conditions. Holloway says these talks are an important way to ensure nurses are recognized for the life-saving work that they do.
So nurses are only expecting fair compensation and an ability to build their career here in the province and to have fair, equitable workloads that does not stress them out, and that they can develop their career here in Ontario.
To have our voice heard for the nurses, so RN, nurse practitioner, and nursing students in the north. My hope was to bring our nurses here today, which we had a pretty good outcome.
The Lakehead chapter hopes to continue working directly with local MPPs to ensure the voices of northern nurses are heard at Queen's Park.
Following some extensive upgrades, the Canada Games complex was back open today, welcoming visitors for the first time since it's closed on June 4th. Bright and early at 5:45 this morning, the pool and other fitness areas were officially reopened. The upgrades carried out over the past month include a new boiler system and improvements to the changing rooms. The overall project is expected to cut annual greenhouse gas emissions by 276 tons. The supervisor for aquatics, wellness, children, and youth says all these upgrades will make a big difference, and she's just happy to see people back and enjoying what they have to offer.
Our staff and myself are thrilled to be open. It's been a long 4 months where we really enjoy having a busy space and a welcoming place for people to come, so we're very happy to be open today. The place is busy.
The complex has several promotions in place for the reopening, including a Toonie Week and a 1-month membership special for those looking to join.
Well, it's just in time because, Fiona, I think our outdoor swimming days are probably done for the year. Temperature's not bad, but, it is fall time after all.
Well, yesterday was certainly, I think, our last hurrah. Yeah. It's a beautiful day. Today, just a little bit more gray. And in fact, overnight we dropped down just slightly below the freezing mark, -1, and a wind chill of -3. But we did warm back up to double digits, a high of 12. A lot of cloud. Winds were very light for most of the day. Started out in the morning with winds from the southwest, about 5 kilometers per hour. Then as the afternoon progressed, started to rotate around a little bit, coming in from the east-northeast at 14 kilometers per hour, but still gray throughout the day. If you wanted to see sunshine, you had to head further west. Now, after yesterday's sunny heat wave, where it was just beautiful and temperatures hitting the high teens. It did cool down a little bit. Fort Frances still managing a high of 12, which is 3 degrees above normal there as well. Loads of sunshine. Similar temperatures in Atikokan and Upsala, a little cooler in Dryden and Kenora. Red Lake, despite being mostly cloudy much of the day, currently at their high of the day of 15, and then things drop off a little bit again as we move eastward into Sioux Lookout, Pickle Lake, Armstrong, and Greenstone. They're currently at their high of 11. They've had variable clouds throughout this region, at times very sunny, and at this hour, nothing but cloud. Along the North Shore, also in the double digits, and Sault Ste. Marie actually was one of the cooler locations yesterday. Today, they warmed up to a high of 15. They're currently at 14 under partly cloudy skies. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, it's going to be a much milder night. We've got a lot more warm air moving through the region. Unfortunately, it comes with rain. There's a good chance of a shower moving through as we drop down only to a low of 8. Now, bear in mind, this is pretty close to what we should be seeing as our high for the day. This is our low for tonight. And it's not really going to last too much longer because we've got tomorrow a lot of rain moving through the Great Lakes, little pockets here and there. This isn't a solid shower, so don't panic when you see that. But this is the area that could be affected by rain. Unfortunately, behind it, definitely chillier temperatures. And as Ryan said, these are the fall temperatures that are moving back in and probably not going to be going too much further in the other direction over the next few weeks. I'll have more details on what your forecast will be for the rest of the week later on in the news hour.
Well, it sounded so good for a while there, Fiona, when you were talking about how mild the overnight temperature was. But yeah, I guess we've got to come to expect those fall temperatures.
Say bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, well, U.S. President Joe Biden was in Tel Aviv today where he met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and a major development coming out of that meeting, Israel now says it will not block humanitarian aid that's bound for Gaza. We'll have the details when your news hour continues after the break.
The whole humanitarian crisis that is unfolding is on a much bigger scale than we've seen before.